I did say I was going to hold off talking about Mamdani because I really wanted to give him a chance. I really wanted to see if he was all talk and was really like just gassing himself up to make something he's going to do all these different things and not deliver, or if he really has what it takes. And seemingly, I might be right. He might be all talk. What's going on, YouTube? It's your host, Bruce GNT, and we're here to talk about Tin Cup Day. All the small lawmakers in the state, in this case, New York and New York City, everything like that, they go to the capital, Albany, and kind of advocate for more money from the state, right? So that's what Mamdani did, and it was pretty interesting. I seen like a good deal of it, like in little clips and everything like that. And I'll give my opinion a little bit after, but let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into the video.
Tin Cup Day in Albany. That's when leaders, local ones, head to the Capitol looking for money. And Mayor Mamdani was there pitching a newly revised budget outlook for the city. Dick Brennan has more on that.
We are confronting a multi-billion-dollar budget deficit.
Indeed, Mayor Mamdani apparently needed quite the large tin cup in the Capitol today, but he says his predicted budget gap has actually changed. The mayor had forecast a $12 billion gap over 2 years, but today he says, thanks to updated estimates of tax revenues based on Wall Street bonuses and aggressive savings, the anticipated deficit has shrunk.
We have lowered that $12 billion gap to $7 billion over 2 fiscal years.
So let me clear something up so it's a little bit more understandable for you guys. When he says we, what he means is that the people on Wall Street, the people that make the money on Wall Street, you know, the taxpayers in this case. Because what happened was that the market had a very favorable year, and Wall Street being basically in the market, they are the market for the most part, they made more money. So all the people that work on Wall Street made all this money, and they pay higher taxes, because the more you make, the more in taxes that you pay, right? The money that they were able to make in the market, right, i.e. their job, they were able to get that pulled away from them through income taxes and whatnot, which the city was able to benefit from because obviously they live in the city, they work in the city and everything like that. So that's actually what saved New York City. It wasn't, you know, his administration. Hell, it wasn't even Adams' administration. That was just the market doing its job, the market doing what it does. Because if the market didn't do as well, they wouldn't have reduced it from $12 billion to $7 billion. Let's remember that and kind of understand that, because even I was a little bit confused. I had to do my research and really look into what that was. Also, let's not forget, the $12 billion, right, that was foretold to be the deficit is nothing that should be surprising anybody. And if it does, it just tells me that you guys don't pay attention to what goes on in your own city, because Mayor Adams talked about this $12 billion that was going to be in the deficit because of what they were doing with the migrant crisis.
New Yorkers did not create an international humanitarian crisis, but New Yorkers have been left to deal with this crisis almost entirely on our own.
Mayor Eric Adams says the city's finances are buckling under the weight of 100,000 migrants who've been bused to town over the last year. The city is still directly caring for more than 57,000 across roughly 200 and counting emergency shelters. Currently, it's shelling out $9.8 million a day. Adams says the city has already spent about $1.5 billion so far, and in the year ahead will spend an additional $4.7 billion.
And it nearly equals the budgets of sanitation department, our parks department, and the FDNY combined.
Now, when he said that, the reason why is because what were they doing? They were putting them in high-rise hotels that was costing a lot of money per day. And this is over the course of years. Remember that, over the course of years.
NYC, formerly the Milford Plaza, used to be one of Times Square's most popular hotels.
Come on along.
They called it the Lullaby on Broadway.
Lullaby of Broadway.
But nowadays, Mayor Eric Adams has a whole new idea for this Broadway mainstay, housing upwards of 600 migrant families in a portion of this hotel, alongside tourists and locals alike. Do you think that's a good plan?
Yes, I do. I think it's a wonderful plan.
At the same time the hotel could begin housing migrants ranges in price from $414 to $435 per night. Superior rooms with 2 double or queen-size beds featuring decorations inspired by New York City's subway system range in price from $445 to nearly $550 per night. Pricey? Yes. Of course, if you cross the border illegally, your stay is on the house.
Along with that, right, they were giving them prepaid debit cards so they could essentially pay for themselves under the guise that was going to save the money.
The mayor of New York City has a new plan to help migrants with the cost of food. It's drawing criticism, I should tell you. Eric Adams' proposal is to give families prepaid credit cards that they can use to buy food or supplies. Texas Governor Greg Abbott slammed the idea, calling it reprehensible. So let's get into it. How does it actually work? National correspondent Axel Tercios is based in New York. Axel, I know this is always playing out right around you, and
the amount on these prepaid credit cards will depend on the number of members in the family, and also if they're making any income at all during the month, so they will be able to get this prepaid credit card to buy food at groceries, supermarkets, convenience stores, and the bodegas. So a family of four, for instance, could get up to $1,000. And the mayor says that there are a lot of benefits behind this, because this is going to allow the families to buy food based on their preference and also culturally relevant to their diets. And the mayor says that the city could save more than $600,000 a month, which comes to about $7.2 million every year.
The reason that they're in this funk, the reason that they're in this is because of the past administration, Eric Adams, along with the Biden administration. It got so bad at one point, and a lot of people don't remember this, it got so bad that NYC had to declare a state of emergency because they were being overwhelmed. The amount of money that they were using was astronomical. Not just NYC, other states were doing it too. Other states were going through their own issue. But that was the direct reason as to why. And the reason I bring this up is because Mamdani isn't going to address that. He's going to leave it under the guise of Eric Adams being incompetent, which he was to a certain extent. But he's going to continue trying to do the exact same things that Eric Adams was doing, and it's going to lead them into even more trouble, because the things that he wants to advocate for isn't going to help the deficit at all.
At a press conference, the mayor was asked how his numbers of just 2 weeks ago could be so different, being that they knew there would be Wall Street bonuses.
There were rumors, there were reports that things would be better than expected, but we can't budget on the basis of a rumor.
As for that tin cup, the mayor insisted the city gets a raw deal from the state and deserves more funding.
No one gives more and gets less in return than New York City. New York City contributes 54.5% of state revenue, but only receives 40.5% in return.
But some upstate legislators say many other cities are hurting too.
For people in other communities that are struggling mightily, for the city of Buffalo that's struggling mightily, it's a place like Dunkirk that has given everything they've got, and no one's coming to save them because they're small and they don't have any power.
Very true. It is unfair. I'm not going to make it seem like, that's a fair deal. It is kind of a raw deal, right? Because NYC is the money-making capital of the country, if not the world. So it makes sense that when it comes to them being in a state that isn't as lucrative, because remember, New York City is about this small and compared to the rest of New York State, it makes sense that they're giving so much and getting so much little back. Because just like what he said, other cities, right, other towns in New York State are not pushing as much money out, but they're still struggling. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a hard situation, because it's like New York City obviously needs the money because people are mismanaging the money and everything like that. But so do the other cities within the state of New York.
Mamdani says he still wants a 2% tax increase on the wealthiest New Yorkers, even though the governor is in no mood to raise taxes in an election year. The mayor, for his part, says he felt the day in his old Albany haunts went well.
As I was leaving today, my wife looked at me and she said, I'd give you money. And it gave me the confidence to make the trip.
So like I said, right, I believe a lot of what he's going on is hope. Trying to summon like 2008 Obama with the idea of, okay, if we hope enough, if we try hard enough, it's going to lead to favorable results. No. Your governor, which things have to pass through her no matter how much you like it or not, is saying no. And without passing taxes on the wealthy, because let's not forget, right, there's a issue of people thinking that the wealthy are going to leave. And then whenever you talk to Mamdani about it, his response is always consistent. I don't think people are going to leave over a small 2% tax increase. And it's like, okay, but people have already been leaving. Is it as much as people try to make it seem like? No, it hasn't been. But you got to think of it like this, right? The wealthy in New York, no matter how you might feel about it, are going to carry on their backs universal childcare, free buses, government grocery stores, because those are funded by the government, which is money from the taxpayer. They're going to be carrying all that on their back. And yeah, the average person might be saying, well, you know what, they make all this money, they should. But in the grand scheme of things, no one wants money taken out of their pocket, no matter for what cause, especially if it's to fund things that they themselves are not taking part in. Because for the most part, the wealthy New Yorkers are not taking part in universal childcare, government grocery stores, and transit. A lot of what he's talking about is a whole lot of fluff, because if you do not have the backing of your governor as a city representative, in this case, a mayor, you're not going to get anywhere. She's not going to raise taxes. And then what's going to end up happening is going to be something very similar to what happened in Chicago, right? He's going to be put between a rock and a hard place, and he's going to have no choice but to increase property taxes because that's the only thing he can do in that situation. Then New Yorkers going to be sitting there upset. I have no issue with the things that he wants to do. Universal childcare, I'm all for that. Free buses, hell no, because that's going to be a mess. And when it comes to government grocery stores, I'm kind of iffy when it comes to that. And I know he has other things as well, but a lot of what he has is lofty ideals, and a lot of New Yorkers heard that and said, you know what, I'm finally going to have a chance. Also, rent freeze. Yeah, that in itself is going to be insane as well, too. I'm not going to jump into that, but he has a lot of these lofty, hopeful ideas. And people are straight up telling him, hey, this is not going to work. They're not going to do it. And he's like, well, we're going to work on that. It's going to happen. Because what it seems like to me, and I paid attention to what other senators up there at Albany were saying before speaking to him and then after speaking to him, a lot of them were saying, hey, look, we don't know where he's going to get the money from. Because if he's hedging his bets on the fact that they're going to raise the property taxes of the wealthy and they're not going to do that, he's kind of asked out.
She might, the little.
She's not in the legislature, though. That's the problem.
Exactly. Yeah. The tin cup, we might need a tin mug or even a bowl for New York City. But let's talk about the deficit. And what does that mean for city services in particular?
Well, the mayor says he's not going to compromise city services. They're having aggressive savings, and he still wants his ambitious agenda. But on the other hand, he says the city's on a ledge, so he's going to need some serious state money.
So what happens next then?
All right, next we've got the preliminary budget, and this thing goes all the way to June with the city budget. But in the middle is Albany, because they have their budget usually due around April 1st, and they have to give the city money. They always do. Mm-hmm. The question is, how much are they going to get?
All right, we will wait and see. Everyone's with their calculators out, right?
The very big calculator, yeah.
He's not going to get as much as he thinks he's going to get. Yeah, he's right. They always give them city money, but it's not going to be a lot. It's not going to be a lot. Because just like what that senator has set up there, they're also going through their own issues. New York has big pockets, so they have much more to lose. Other cities have not just as much, but they have a lot to lose as well. Like I said, I'm going to be paying attention. Obviously, I'm going to try to give as much leeway as I can because I want to be fair in this. I want to give him like a fighting chance before I start ripping into him and call him a piece of shit. As it stands right now, he just has a lot of lofty ideas. And he doesn't seem to have a lot of support because when I was watching that hearing, right, when he was talking to those, when he was talking to the people in Albany, even some of the Democrats were kind of like looking at him like, hey, we don't know how this is going to work because we're not behind that. So, New York, y'all might have some growing pains. Well, you guys already know, Drew. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. Do you see this working out in Mamdani's favor? Or better, I should ask, do you think Kathy Hochul, the governor, is going to yield and say, you know what, tax the wealthy 2% more? Remember, this is an election year for her. Do you think she's going to take that risk? Let me know down in the comments down below. That's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.